nights, 6 brightening dawns found her quite unrefreshed with food or sleep, wandering at random over hill and dale. The Tiber saw her last, with grief and toil, wearied and lying on its widespread bank. In tears she poured out words with a faint voice, lamenting her sad woe, as when the swan about to die sings a funereal dirge. Melting with grief at last she pined away, her flesh, her bones, her marrow liquefied and vanished by degrees as formless air, and yet the story lingers near that place, fitly named Canaan's by old-time Canaanite. Such things I heard and saw through a long year, sluggish, inactive through our idleness. We were all ordered to embark again out on the deep, again to set our sails. The Titaness explained the doubtful paths, the great extent and peril of wild seas. I was alarmed, I will confess to you, so having reached these shores, I have remained. Macarius finished, and Aeneas's nurse, now buried in a marble urn, had this brief, strange inscription on her tomb: "My foster child of proven piety, burned me Caita here. Although I was at first preserved from Argive fire, I later burned with fire which was my due." The cable loosened from the grassy bank. They steered a course which kept them well away from ill-famed Circe's wiles, and from her home, and sought the groves where Tiber dark with shade breaks with his yellow sands into the sea. Aeneas then fell heir to the home, and won the daughter of Latinus, Faunus' son, not without war. A people very fierce made war, and Turnus, their young chief, indignant, fought to hold a promised bride. With Latium all Etruria was embroiled. A victory hard to win was sought through war. By foreign aid each side got further strength. The camp of Rutuli abounds in men, and many throng the opposing camp of Troy. Aeneas did not find Evander's home in vain, but Venulus with no success came to the realm of exiled Diomed. That hero had marked out his mighty walls with favour of Iapygian Daunus, and held fields that came to him as marriage dower. When Venulus, by Turnus' orders, made request for aid, the Aetolian hero said that he was poor in men. He did not wish to risk in battle himself any troops belonging to his father-in-law, and had no troops of his own that he could arm for battle. "Lest you should think I feign," he then went on, "although my grief must be renewed because of bitter recollections of the past, I will endure recital now to you. After the lofty Ilion was burnt, and Pergama had fed the Grecian flames, and Ajax, the Narician hero, had brought from a virgin, for a virgin wronged, the punishment which he alone deserved on our whole expedition, we were then dispersed and driven by violent winds over the hostile seas. And we, the Greeks, had to endure in darkness, lightning, rain, the wrath both of the heavens and of the sea, and Caphareus, the climax of our woe. Not to detain you by relating such unhappy things in order, Greece might then have seemed to merit even Priam's tears. Although well-armed, Minerva's care preserved me then, and brought me safe through rocks and waves. From my native Argos I was driven again, for outraged Venus took her full revenge, remembering still that wound of long ago. And I endured such hardships on the deep, and hazards amid armies on the shore, that often I called those happy whom the storm, and ill that came on all, or Cepharius had drowned. I even wished I had been one of them. My best companions, having now endured utmost extremities in wars and seas, lost courage, and demanded a swift end of our long wandering. Acmon, by nature hot, and much embittered by misfortune, said, "What now remains for you, my friends, that patience can endure? What can be done by Venus, if she wants to, more than she already has done? While we have a dread of greater evils, reason will be found for patience. But when fortune brings her worst, we scorn and trample fear beneath our feet. Upon the height of woe, why should we care? Let Venus listen, let her hate Diomed more than all others, as indeed she does. We all despise her hate. At a great price we have bought and won the right to such contempt." With language of this kind, Pluronian Acmon, provoking Venus further than before, revived her former anger. His fierce words were then approved of by a few, while we, the greater number of his real friends, rebuked the words of Acmon. And while he prepared to answer us, his voice, and even the passage of his voice, were both at once diminished. His hair changed to feathers, while his neck took a new form. His breast and back covered themselves with down, and both his arms grew longer feathers, and his elbows curved into light wings. Much of each foot was changed to long toes, and his mouth grew still and hard with pointed horn. Amazed at his swift change were Lycus, Abas, Nyctius, and Rhexenor. And while they stared, they took his feathered shape. The larger portion of my army flew from their boat, resounding all around our oars with flapping of new-fashioned wings. If you should ask the form of these strange birds, they were like snowy swans, though not the same. Now, as Iapygian Danaus, son-in-law, I scarcely hold this town and arid fields with my small remnant of trustworthy men. So Diomed made answer. Venulus soon after left the Caledonian realms, Pusician bays, and the Messapian fields. Among those fields he saw a darkened cave in woods and waving reeds. The half-goat Pan now lives there, but in older time the nymphs possessed it. An Apulian shepherd scared them from that spot. At first he terrified them with a sudden fear, but soon in scorn, as they considered what the intruder was, they danced before him, moving feet to time. The shepherd clown abused them, capering, grotesquely imitating graceful steps, and railed at them with coarse and foolish words. He was not silent till a tree's new bark had closed his mouth, for now he is a tree. And the wild olive's fruit took bitterness from him. It now has the tartness of his tongue. When the ambassadors returned, and told their tale about Aetolian arms refused, the bold Rutulians carried on the war without those forces, and much blood was shed. Then Turnus, with a greedy torch, drew near the Trojan fleet, well built of close-knit pine. What had escaped the waves now feared the flame. Soon Mulciber was burning pitch and wax and other food of fire. Up the high masts he ran, and fed upon the tight-furled sails, and even the benches in the curved hull smoked. When the holy mother of the gods, recalling how those same pines were felled on Ida's crest, filled the wind with the sound of cymbals clashed and trill of boxwood flutes, borne through the light air by her famed lion yoke, she came and said, "In vain you cast the fire with impious hand, Turnus, for I will save this burning fleet. I will not let the greedy flame consume trees that are part and members of my grove." It thundered while she spoke, and heavy clouds, following the thunder, brought a storm of bounding hail. The Astraean brothers filled both air and swollen water